Hello and welcome to this episode of Animasaurus. This is going to be the last one for the year, and for this episode we are going to take a look at what are the awesome new feature animated films coming out in the first half of 2020. First, let's take a look at some of the things that happened in 2019. 2019 will almost end up being called the bomb year for animation. Investors are quite happy to sort of take a bit of a risk on an animated feature because it might blow up and make millions and millions and make it rain. Or it might bomb. And this year has been the first year that we have had so many bombs. Let's take a look at let's travel back in time over 2019 and take a look at the opening weekend of some of these movies. The Lego Movie 2 was one of the most anticipated movies of this group, and it only ended up pulling $34.4 million over the opening weekend. Missing Link from Laika was also expected to have quite an interesting draw, but that only ended up pulling, $5.8 million over the opening weekend. Ilian's adventure into feature animation with Wonder Park landed it $16 million over the opening weekend. Ugly Dolls falls into our non-performing list by pulling $8.5 million on the opening weekend, and this is then followed by Arctic Dogs, which also had a terrible opening weekend with only $2.9 million. But the one that takes the piece de resistance out of our bombs for the year was the Playmobil movie, which was reportedly had a budget of $75 million in its opening weekend. It didn't even crack the $1 million mark. It only ended up at $660,000. This one's going to have, I think, quite a huge impact on Animation, who had quite a lot invested in this movie overall. So it'll be interesting to see how this rolls out with such a poor performance from this movie. But of course, on the other side of that spectrum, we have some amazing movies as well. The one which absolutely cleaned the plate was, of course, Frozen 2. Much anticipated, and it ended up with an opening weekend of $127 million. The Wishmas Tree is set for release on February 27th. Now, The Wishmas Tree is the first in a franchise from Leica Photon Productions in Australia. And bonus points if you can guess out what city that's actually going to come from. Hang around to the end of the video and I might just let slip where it is. It's directed by Ricard Cusso, and it's got the voices of Miranda Tapsell and Ross Noble. So this will be a real charming little movie to watch when it comes out. So the movie that we'll be waiting for into March will be March 4 with the Disney Pixar Onward. It is going to be the first Disney Pixar original that we're going to have under the new leadership of Pete Docter. So the first original Pete Docter movie. It's already getting a bit of a pasting for having the same font and look as what Frozen does on the way they wrote the name. So that's really cool. But it's going to be directed and produced by Dan Scanlon and Corey Ray, who also team up again after doing Monsters University. Next movie which is going to come off the rank, which is just quoted as coming in the first quarter, is a movie called Extinct. Now, it's a co-production between China Lion Entertainment, who have put together between China Lion Film and Wink Animation to come up with the production for this film. The animation work has all been done by Sinsight in Montreal, and the director David Silverman has come off of quite a lot of movies before, quite a lot of work before. So coming from the real early episodes of The Simpsons, he's also directed The Simpsons movie and co-directed Monsters Incorporated as well. So quite a resume of really cool movies to look forward to. So this one might be interesting to see how it comes about. So into April, on April the 17th, we've got the Trolls World Tour coming out. This is coming out from DreamWorks. I know when I look at the cover of this, all I think of is Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. That aside, this would be DreamWorks movie. This will be directed by Walt Dorum and David P. Smith. And it is actually the follow-up to the 2016 movie, Trolls, which ended up pulling $346.9 million at the box office. So quite a good haul. So yeah, I can see why they want to keep this franchise going. Then all the way into May, we'll end up with Scoob. Now, Scoob is going to be a co-production between Warner Brothers Entertainment and Real Effects. Director Tony Schiavone, This is going to be the first time we've had a reboot of Scoob in a full 3D world. He's been rebooted before, and I'll leave a link to my breakdown of what I think about the Scoob franchise down in the comments below. Also coming out in May, then, the week after May, is the new SpongeBob movie. It's a Wonderful Sponge. The SpongeBob movie is a co-production between Paramount Animation and Micros Animation. This will be the first time we actually see a full 3D feature-length SpongeBob, because in the other features he's come out in, he's always been a 2D character. So this will be the first time we see him as a full 3D sponge. He's going to be directed by Tim Hill. This will then be the third movie in the SpongeBob movie collections. We also then, in spring 2020, will have The Willoughbys. Now, the reason this one is in spring is because it's a Netflix release. And Netflix releases are a little bit more versatile in when their date is that they actually come out. What's really exciting about this is also then a Bron production. For anyone who's just seen the Ghostbusters movie trailer, you'll see that Bron are also working on that. So I'm really excited about that. Bron have a really nice style, and they came out a couple of years ago with a movie called Henchman. And so I'm really excited to see Bron work on more stuff. I love their style, so I'm looking forward to see what they can come up with for The Willoughbys. Directed by Chris Pearn, adapted from a Lewis Lowry novel. And then, in some magical world, we end up with having Disney Pixar's second original feature coming out in the first half of the year as well. On June 19, we will get to see Soul. Soul will actually then be directed by Pete Docter. So not only is he then, this will be his first directorial debut while still being CEO of the company. This is also then his fourth movie as a director, also having ranked up Monsters Incorporated, Inside Out, and Up. So you can imagine that this is going to be quite an emotional movie. Another one which comes out in June, just without a specific date, is Evangelion 2.0 plus 1.0. Now, this one is probably one of the more anticipated movies to come out, coming out of the Studio Kahara in Japan. This one will be directed by Hideko Anno, and this is then the 10th movie in the Evangelion final series. But why this one is so anticipated is it had huge delays since 2015, so it's now 4 years that it's been delayed for. But all these sources which are coming out saying that he's now been back on track, and they're looking for a June release. So this will be one to keep an eye out for. There is also high expectations for The Wish Dragon coming out sometime in 2020. I've got my hopes it comes out in the first half of 2020. It is then a Sony Pictures Animation and Base Effects Animation collaboration. The director is then Chris Applehouse. And what's really interesting about this movie, besides it being voiced by Constance Wu and Jackie Chan, is it's the first picture from Sony Pictures International Initiative. So it is very much targeted towards an international audience, it's not targeted towards an American audience. So this one's going to be really cool to look out for. A couple of them which I think will be worth keeping an eye out for, which will come out under the radar, will be Mosley. I've done a video on this one as well. It's already released in New Zealand, and I think early in the year there'll be an international release for this as well. Done by Hoo Hoo Studios in New Zealand, directed by Kirby Aikens. And so, yeah, I think this one will be out in the new year. Another two films to keep your eye out for, which don't have release dates yet, is Maya the Bee 3, The Golden Orb, and 100% Wolf. Because both of these films are then co-productions between Studio 100 and Flying Bark Productions, which will round out a very exciting slate for the Asia-Pacific region. Did you get it? Do you know where the Wishmas tree is made? If you did, congratulations. For everybody else, it's actually come out of a studio in Brisbane in Queensland. There's some pretty exciting films coming out in 2020. Thank you for coming along with me. Please put your comments down below what you're most looking forward to. And if there's any movies which you think are more exciting that I should have included in the list, shout at me down in the comments and I'll see if I can slide them in somewhere else. Till New Year, thanks for joining me for this episode of Animosaurus!